Hi, and welcome to this video where I'll be showing you the new PEANUT Mini Jig from Intelligent Fixings. The Mini Jig is designed to be used with the PEANUT 2 connecting system. The PEANUT 2 connecting system can do all these types of joins: your 90 degree, a compound mitre, an end-to-end frame, an end-to-end mitred frame, and also it can do panel to panel fixing. It can be used in all different types of material: MDF, hardwoods, softwoods, plies, MFCs. The great thing about the PEANUT 2 is the strength. It's really cost effective, and it's also an invisible join, so you don't see any fixings or any holes when it's put together. So here's what you get with a jig. It comes in this nice little bag. You get a basic instruction. It's another little bag with some other fittings in. This is the main jig body. This is the fence, and then in the upper bag you get a 6mm drill bit, stop and Allen key. You get the 6mm drill bush, an Allen key for fixing the fence, your bolts for fixing the fence, and you get your 2 gravity studs. Here you have your main jig body. On the jig body you have your 3 clamping zones, and in the middle you have a 30mm router slot. This is designed to take a 30mm guide bush, which comes standard with most 1/2" routers. Also inside the slot you have these 2 notches, and they're there as indicators if you want to put a slot or a peanut across your workpiece in a certain place. You also have these 4 gravity pinholes. Each one of these are indicated. You just drop your gravity pin in whichever direction you want to go, and they're designed to sort of slide up and down against the edge of your workpiece. And you also have these 2 holes, and they are there to fix your fence to the main jig. Here we have the jig fence. This can be fitted in 3 different positions. On the 90 degree side you have an offset. This is designed to do 16mm to 22mm and 22mm and above. And then you have your 45 degree, which can do 18mm and above. Finally we have the 6mm drill bush. This basically goes inside the main jig body, and depending on the position of your gravity pins, this will always go to the thinnest part of the slot, so you can rotate it either way. You can also use it for doweling as well. So here I have my 1/2" router. I've already inserted the PEANUT tool. Got my 30mm guide bush. This particular router, it's always aligned perfectly with my tool and the bush. Some routers you might have to align the guide bush perfectly centre with the tool. Now, this part of the jig is actually the depth gauge. So, making sure the slot's out of the way, you just plunge it down until it's touching the tip of the tool, lock it off, and then using your stop, just lock that in position. It's also good to use extraction. And obviously make sure the power's disconnected while you're setting it up. to set up the drill bit, you just slide the stop over the drill. Using the back of the jig, you've got 2 reference points here. So you make sure the tip's lining up with that inside edge. Press your stop up against the base of the jig, and then using the Allen key, you just lock that off. And that's ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to do a 90-degree join using a 19mm clip panel. I'm going to set the jig up this way around. So literally just lining the holes up. It's ready to go. Okay, I'm now going to show you how to do the slots on the side of your workpiece. First thing I do is clamp my panel to the side of the bench. And with my jig, I need to position my gravity pins. So my first slots, I'm going to go in these 2 directions. So I'm going to put one in there and one in there. And just slide the stop up, press it against your workpiece. You're using 2 good clamps. Clamp it in position in the clamping zone, making sure it's pushed nice and tight against the workpiece. Okay, so then with your router, it's a simple down, across, back and out motion. And we just repeat the other side, let the pin drop, nice and tight against the workpiece. Clamp it in position. So I'm going to do the slots on the opposite side as well. Flip my workpiece around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reverse the gravity pins so the slots are mirroring the ones on the other side. So I'm then going to use the other 2 holes. And then just repeat the process. Obviously this time we're going in the opposite direction, so it's... So that's the routing done on our side panel. So again, just clamp the workpiece. Just going to put a little pencil mark on the face of that so I know what side I've referenced from. Then with the drill bush, you want to make sure it goes towards the thinner end of the indicator. And just push your stop against the workpiece. No need for clamping, you can just hold this nice and tight. And then just repeat the other end. Flip the panel around, So there's no need to move anything here, it's all set up. So when you do the drilling, as long as you've got the drill bush at the thinner end of the indicator, it will work every time. So that's the other part, ready to insert and put together. Okay, so we've got our two components. So now what we need to do is insert the PEANUT 2s into the drill section. So just push them in, tap them in. And I've got my 3.5mm gauge 50mm long screws. We just screw them in, making sure not to over tighten them. So you can muck up the hole when you put the two together. So they're now ready to put together. Now it's ready to go together. So you literally line your two components up with the slots, making sure you've got your reference on the outside. That was the mark from earlier. And you just slide the two together. Making sure you get the edges flush. Now you have a really good solid unit, no visible fixings. Really good for the end user to put together. Okay, so for a compound miter and a face-to-face fixing, we just need to set the drill stop a slightly lower position. So I'm just going to use the bottom of my jig here and the clamping zone line to set it. So just using the stop against there and the tip against that line. It wants to be around 30, 31mm up. Okay, so I'm now going to set up the jig to do a compound miter. So using the 45° side. Just line up the two holes, using your fixing bolts. And using the Allen key. You don't need to over tighten it. Now I'm going to do a compound miter. I'll start by doing the slots. So again, I'm going to clamp my workpiece to the bench. Get my jig, and then I want to do my first slots this way, so I'm going to put my two gravity pins in there and there. Slide it to my workpiece and just make sure the pin and the jig is sitting nice and tight against your workpiece. Again, using two clamps. It's sitting nice and solid on there. With your router, slide it across the other end and just repeat. Just making sure all the time it's sitting nice and flat against your workpiece. And then I want the slots to go the opposite direction, so I'm just gonna do them in the other holes, making sure they're going the same way, so they're mirroring that. That's that part ready. Okay, so now I'm going to do the drilling part. Again, always clamping your workpiece to your bench. So just make sure you get your drill bushing the correct way. So my gravity pins are this direction, so it wants to go to the thinnest part. Just a nice firm grip. Slide it to the other end, and again. And again, you don't need to swap the pins or anything over, just work the same position they're in. That's now ready for the peanut 2s to be inserted. Okay, so what I've had to do on this one, I'm just going to have to cut the peanut down slightly. You can cut it to any length you want really, because this is 19mm MDF. I'm going to go to the first nodule, and that gives you more fixing with the screw. So just with a sharp knife. Again, you just push the peanuts in. Give them a tap. Just make sure they're sitting nice on the surface. And then I've got a 3.5 30mm screw. Just going to screw them in. I've set the torque on this because I don't want to over tighten them. So that's the components ready to put together. So now we have our panels ready to go together. You simply line up the peanuts with your slots, pushing it in, and then just sliding them together. And you just repeat the process on all 4 corners. You could always put a bead of glue if you wanted a permanent fixing. Also the back, however you design the back to go on, that could also hold it permanently. Just give them a tap so they're nice and flush. Here you have a really nice solid unit. Okay, so there it is, PEANUT Mini Jig from Intelligent Fixings. Hope you found that video helpful. Thanks for watching.